from this world.
Hi there guys, and welcome to LoLysis' first video, featuring me, Squirrel, and I'm going to be talking about Nocturne Jungle in the League of Legends patch 5.22. And the reason I want to discuss Nocturne is because I feel he's become a lot stronger on this patch since 80 junglers have pretty much taken over the jungle meta-wise, as AP has slightly fell off. So we're going to begin this video by talking about the runes that I take on Nocturne, because in this video we will be going over the runes, masteries, skill order, item build, and the jungle path that I like to take. So let's get right into it and discuss the runes. And as you can see on screen, you can see that I go for 9 AD marks, 9 armor seals, 9 magic resist glyphs, and 3 attack speed quintessences. Most of these are fairly standard, you know, for Nocturne and for some AD junglers in general, but the trick that I didn't mention, that I'm going to mention it now with this build, as you may have not known from the title of this video already, is that we're going to be going 45% CDR with Nocturne. And as you will have just found out, there is no CDR in the runes whatsoever. The runes are pretty standard, be a bit tanky, still be able to do damage, and that's the brunt of that. So after that has now been explained, I shall move on to the masteries. And we're now into the mastery segment of this video, where, as you can see on the screen currently, I am going 12-18-0 on Nocturne Jungle. So 12 in the Ferocity tree and 18 in the Cunning tree. Now there is one specific reason why you have to go this mastery route, and that is because we are going to go for the 45% CDR Nocturne build, which means you need to have the mastery called Intelligence, and you need to have 5 points in that because it reduces the cooldown reduction cap by 5%, and you also gain 5%. So that means at the start of the game, with no items whatsoever, you will have 5% cooldown reduction. But I'm going to go through the masteries very quickly because they're all pretty standard. We've got Fury for the attack speed, Double-Edged Sword for the additional damage, Vampirism for the lifesteal, and Oppressor for the increased damage to any enemies that are CC'd. That is in the Ferocity tree. And then of course in the Cunning tree, which is the main one we're going to be doing, I'm going to go for Savagery, which gives basic attacks and single target spells deal 5 bonus damage to minions and monsters. Now you might think, why take this? It's not that great. Yes, okay, we're not going to be fighting that many minions sometimes, but against monsters, I think it's going to be very good. Next, Runic Affinity to make our buffs last longer, pretty standard. Merciless, so we do more damage to targets below 50 to 40% health, very good. Dangerous Game, we'll get health and mana back when we get a kill or an assist, fantastic. Then Intelligence, as I mentioned, to increase our CDR cap, and it will also give us the first 5% cooldown reduction in our build. And then the Keystone Mastery that I've decided to take is Thunderlord's Decree, which did get hotfixed, I might add. And Thunderlord's Decree gives us this. Your third attack or spell on an enemy champion shocks the area around them, dealing 10 damage per level, plus 20% of your bonus attack damage and 10% of your ability power as magic damage to enemies in that area. So short and simple, every third attack we do does an AoE for some of our AD and some of our ability power, and that has a 30-second cooldown. Now the good thing about that is that'll also kind of work in a bit with Nocturne's passive, which is also an AoE, which gives us a bit of lifesteal, but I'll be discussing that a bit later when we get into the skill order. And believe it or not guys, we're now going to go from the mastery segment into the skill order segment. I'll see you there. And hello and welcome to the skill order section of Nocturne Jungle. I like this part of the video because some people I think are gonna find, well, some people are gonna find this wrong, some people are gonna do it differently, but for this build, me personally, this is how I will do the build for Nocturne. So you're welcome to disagree, I'm always welcome to opinions, but this is how I do it. First of all, I'm just gonna quickly cover the passive for those of you that don't remember, which is called Umbra Blades. And that is every 10 seconds, Nocturne's next attack strikes surrounding enemies for 120% physical damage, and he also heals himself, which is nice. And also, Nocturne's basic attacks reduce this cooldown by 1 second, which I shall see when it comes to this build actually works rather well. But for Nocturne Jungle, you start with Q, which is the Dustbringer, And of course the Dustbringer leaves a dust trail, which causes champions to also leave a dust trail behind them, but hey, when you're clearing the jungle, they're not really going to move, doesn't matter. But while you're on this trail, Nocturne can move through units, and we do have increased movement speed and attack damage, so when you're clearing the jungle, you're always going to want to make sure you're standing on your Dustbringer for additional damage. So we're going to start with Dustbringer. Straightforward, really. The second ability you're going to take at level 2, which I guess in this is where it gets a bit debatable, but this is what I prefer to do. I prefer to go for the W, which is the Shroud of Darkness, and you might be thinking, why go for the Shroud of Darkness? You're not fighting enemy champions, you're not going to have to block abilities. But I take it for the passive, which is because the passive is you gain attack speed. And the good thing about this is, the more attack speed we have, because we're in the jungle when you're starting to clear basic attacks, attack speed, going to work with the passive, you can kind of see where I'm going with this, plus on the Dustbringer, more basic attacks. You can kind of see where this is going, so with more attack speed for more basic attacks, you can then get better sustain within the jungle. So that's what I take at level 2. Then at level 3, pretty straightforward, you take Unspeakable Horror, which is the fear, and because you start with blue buff, unlimited mana, sustain, you can fear things, take even less damage, etc, etc. And then of course, Paranoia, his ult, you'll take that at 6, 11 and 18, pretty standard, you don't really want to miss out on that ultimate. So basically, for the skill order, since I've now discussed what you take in the early levels, you're always going to max Q first for the most damage, pretty straightforward. But next, I max Shroud of Darkness because you get higher passive attack speed every time you level it, which is fantastic. Again, the more attack speed, you're going to get that passive off more lifesteal, even better, and then of course max E last. It doesn't do that much damage. Yes, the fear is nice, but I prefer to have more attack speed on Nocturne. This is me personally. And then of course stick the last few points into your ultimate when available. And that's the skill order that I like to take for Nocturne. And in the next segment of this video, I'm going to go over the item build that I like to take, which will show you exactly why I've been testing out and liking, and I think it works, 45% CDR build on Nocturne. And now we move on to the fourth part of this video, which is the item build. Now, if you remember from one of the previous segments which I covered the masteries, you'll know that we already have 5% cooldown reduction thanks to the mastery intelligence out of the 45% that we need for the cap. And to start off this build, basically, typical jungle Nocturne, you're going to go Machete, because it's the best for Nocturne, 3 health potions, do your first clear as per normal, which I will be discussing the clear and the jungle that I like to take in the final segment of this video, so hang on a minute, we'll get there. We'll do the build first, shall we? So basically, you'll start with that, but you're going to upgrade that to Tracker's Knife, which gives you the 2 free wards. Fantastic. I love that jungle item. I think it's probably going to mostly be used in competitive play when all the LCS teams and stuff start playing on it more. But you're going to go for Enchantment Warrior for that attack damage, and it also gives 10% CDR, so there's where your next 10% will come to. Now we have 15% cooldown reduction. Fantastic. Right, now we move on to one of their first main damage items, I feel, which is going to be Yumu's Ghostblade, which will give us the added, nice chunk of AD, fantastic. Gives us a passive of armor penetration, again, fantastic. The active for movement speed and attack speed, again, fantastic, works really well with Nocturne. But it also gives us another 10% cooldown reduction. So, we'll have the 10% from Ghostblade, the 10% from Warrior, and then the 5% from Mastery. We have 25% so far. Fantastic. Now you're thinking, 20% left. Pretty easy, right? Yeah, pretty much. And that makes us way to the Black Cleaver, along with the massive chunk of 300 health it gives us, the nice 55 AD that it gives us. It also fills out that nice last gap of 20% cooldown reduction. So when you buy the Black Cleaver to complete your damage build, you will have 45% CDR. Fantastic. So by this point, you'll have 3 items. I know I've saved over the boots, so by this point technically you should have 4 items. I'm going to get onto the boots now. Since you don't need, in my opinion, lucidity boots for any CDR there, even though it does lower the summoner spells, I don't really think it's that needed. You're better going slightly or tanky in the boots, so you're either going to go for Mercury Treads or Ninja Tabi. I mean, if the enemy team is mostly attack damage, I'm probably going to more fare for Ninja Tabis, but in 95% of situations I'm always going to go Mercury Treads, always good for that tenacity passive fantastic. So that would be that's pretty much your 4 core items right there. Then, if you really want to, if you want to go full on damage, because why the hell not? Get a Hydra, gives us a nice bit of attack damage, the 12% lifesteal, and it also gives base health regen, along with the nice active it has for clearing and in fight. So yes, you might be running 2 actives. I'm sure you guys can handle that. Piece of piss. So Ravenous Hydra, not Titanic Hydra, Ravenous Hydra. Not the tanky one, we want the AD one. It works so much better, and I like the item. So by this point we will have 4 damage items plus the boots. So you're thinking that's 3 plus 1 plus 1, 5 items. So what do we get for a 6th item? If you're deciding not to go 2 items tanky, you'll only have 1 slot for a tankier item. If you decide you want to go tanky, if not, you can fill this with whatever you like. But me, preferably, I prefer to have at least 1 tanky item on top of whatever my boots are. And in my preference, if you're going against a mostly attack damage team, they're going to wreck your armor, you need more armor. You can go for like 3 items. In my preference, I prefer to go Dead Man's Plate because it gives you the health, which I think is better. It does give you a tiny bit of armor, it does give you 50 armor, still not that bad. But the passive is nice, so you can chase people with the passive when it's fully stacked with momentum and you can get away. Fantastic. If that's not your cup of tea, you can buy Steric's Gauge. Again, it doesn't really give you any armor, but it does give you 500 health. It does give you a nice 25% base attack damage. But the very nice passive it has is when you take anywhere from 400 to 1800 damage, you will increase in size and get a nice big shield. The shield is worth 30% of your maximum health, and since you might have already gotten 1 or 2 items that have health on them, you'll get a pretty chunky shield and you might actually survive. So although you won't have the armor, if this is your 6th item, you will have health. So the shield will be a nice thing to have. But if you don't want either of those 2 items, you want to make sure you have plenty of armor, and you're going to completely mess over any AD carries, top ADs, mid ADs, assassins. Go for Thornmail, you get a nice 100 armor on Thornmail, plus the passive when you're hit by basic attacks, you reflect it back as magic damage, and any bonus armor as well. It's fantastic, you can't go wrong with Thornmail. However, if you decided that most of the A team is AP based, and you don't go for Hydra, then you go for Hex Drinker, fully upgraded to that Malmamortius, because the Malmamortius got buffs, so you get 55 AD, 50 MR, but you also get 10 plus 10 armor penetration, which is great. Of course, you're really going to mainly buy it for the Hex Drinker shield, but I feel like now the Malmamortius actually got buffed a little bit, it's much better. However, if you don't fancy going that route, you prefer to have proper MR, and no one on your team decides to get a locket for whatever reason, and you want to be selfish, go for Spirit Visage, because it will give you, again, that 500 health. It gives you a nice 70 MR. It gives you 150% base health regen. Now, I know it does give plus 10% cooldown reduction, which is why I'm not really wanting you to go for this item. If you go for this item, you will go over the CDR cap, so try and stay away from it. If you can help it, in my opinion, Hex Drinker or a Locket would be better. Or, you can go for this nice item last, Banshee's Veil, which will again give you the 500 health, again give you the 70 magic resist. It does give 100% base health regen, but it also grants you the nice spell shield, so it will automatically block an ability if you think you might be getting CC'd, or if you get CC'd you're going to die, so it'll block a CC ability. Your W then can also save your ass a second time to block another ability, so you should be completely fine there. So yeah, but as you can see on the screen, I have a final build example, which is Enchantment Warrior on the Tracker's Knife, Youmuu's Ghost Blade, the Black Cleaver, Ravenous Hydra, Dead Man's Plate for going against an AD team, and then Mercury Treads. Those would be the 6 items I would be getting. Since I would have the Tracker's Knife for 2 wards, you would have the fully upgraded at level 9 Sweeper, which is the Oracle's Alteration, because it's much better. If you have Tracker's Knife for 2 wards, you don't need the Warding Trinket whatsoever. So yeah, that would be my final 6 item build on my 45% CDR Nocturne. And now, in the final part of this video, I will go over the jungle route. And guys, welcome to the final segment of this Nocturne jungle video. And I will be covering the jungle clear route that I like to go on Nocturne jungle at the start of the game, no matter what side I am on, red or blue. I always like to start at the Gromp so I can get help from either top lane or bot lane. So you would do Gromp, smite the Gromp, then move to your blue buff, clear the blue buff with relative ease. And now I will say this, currently because 5.23 has not went live yet, but in those patch notes, Smite will charge earlier at a time of 125, and it also recharges 5 seconds faster, so this will fix the current issue of not having Smite for your third camp that you do. So I'm still going to go from blue to my red buff, so I have both buffs, and then I can see whether I want to maybe get in an early gank or just continue to hard farm till level 6. But if you don't fancy going straight from blue to red, you can go from blue to either wolves or razorbeaks and then to your red buff. But I personally like to go from grump to blue to red, get the crab that's in the river by the red buff, and then go back to my camps and start farm and continue my farm, because in theory you should be able to get level 6 within like 6 or 7 minutes, maybe 8-9 minutes max. But if you're not level 6 by 8 minutes, I would be worried that you're maybe doing something wrong within your clear, or you're struggling for whatever reason. Now the first clear I still think might be a tiny bit harsh, but with Nocturne's sustain, with the passive and the health potions and the machetes, you should be perfectly fine. So after you've done your first clear, you can go back, you can buy Tracker's Knife, get that for 700 gold. You will then have unlimited sustain in the jungle, plus 2 wards, and that is my jungle route on Nocturne. And thank you very much for watching this video, guys. I hope it was very informative. These are meant to be detailed like guide / analysis videos on why I think like things on what the patches that come out, certain champions in the meta, examples. But I decided to do Nocturne jungle first because I love Nocturne. I used to play him back in Season 2 when he was relevant, and I think now he might come back in to be more relevant since AD junglers are back in the meta and he has good sustain in the jungle. So guys, if you like this video, feel free to like the video, leave a comment on the video. I'm going to be doing more of these, so if you like this, please feel free to subscribe. And also a big help would be if you have friends that play League, whether they're junglers or not. I'm not going to just do the jungle role. Please feel free to link this video to your friends, put it on forums, nice forums please, not bad ones, nice forums, so maybe spread the word around, get some more traffic to the channel. I can start maybe even taking requests from people about like what videos they might want to see, maybe what I think on a certain champion, certain role, built a certain way, anything like that. But this has been my 45% CDR Nocturne jungle guide. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I shall see you all next time.